nominate Honorable Tajuddin Abbas.
I so second.
I rise to humbly accept the nomination.
Is hereby declared the winner and returned elected as the Speaker of the House of Representatives.
The federal government may have signed the agreement without exhaustive consultation and consideration.
House urged federal government to halt the implementation of the SAMOA agreement.
The head of service still has the opportunity to regularize that circular.
And lawmakers seek the abrogation of compulsory retirement policy for directors in MDAs. A warm welcome to House Tickets. My name is Dihelia Mamza and I'm your guide. Lawmakers have raised issues concerning the SAMOA agreement, calling on the federal government to exercise caution in the implementation and to make sure that all controversial clauses are clearly defined in order not to violate any extant Nigerian law. Details of the discussion on this matter form part of our package of House Ticket this week. In addition to that, we have a report on the House consideration of a bill that seeks to provide for the reservation of seats for women in the National and State Assemblies. From the committee rooms, we also have reports of the engagement of the House Committee on Niger Delta Development Commission with relevant stakeholders to discuss pertinent issues, amongst other legislative engagements in the last 1 week. Let's take a break here and return with the full package of the program. Please stay with us.
The House will pay priority attention to participatory budgeting process and delivery, law reform, electoral reform, women's participation and inclusion in governance, among others.
Glad to have you back and thanks for staying tuned. The House on Wednesday, 10th July 2024, adjourned plenary following the death of one of its members in the person of Representative Prince Olaide Adewale Akinremi. He was the member representing Oyo North Federal Constituency of Oyo State and was the chairman House Committee on Science Research Institutions. He died on Tuesday, 9th July 2024 after a brief illness. Announcing the demise of Representative Akinremi during a brief plenary on that day, Speaker Abbas Tajuddin described the lawmaker popularly known as Jagaban as a dedicated member of the House who served his people with unwavering commitment and distinction.
Prince Akinremi's devotion to public service was exemplary. As chairman of the House Committee on Science Research Institutions, he made significant contributions to both his constituency and the nation. His leadership in distributing palliatives and the support for local artisans, traders, and social groups during challenging times highlighted his deep commitment to the welfare of his constituents.
Plenary was adjourned after a minute's silence was observed to honor the late lawmaker.
May the soul of Jagaban rest in perfect peace.
Up ahead are reports from plenary proceedings of Tuesday 9th and Thursday 11th July 2024. The stories as compiled is presented from our studios.
The House on Tuesday 9th July 2024 considered and adopted a motion examining the SAMOA agreement that was signed on behalf of Nigeria in June 2024. It was moved by the Deputy Minority Leader, Representative Aliu Sani Madaki, alongside 90 lawmakers on the matters of urgent public importance.
The signing of such an agreement with the aforementioned clauses, if true, violate our sovereignty and is a clear contravention of Section 12(1) of 99 Constitution as amended. The federal government may have signed the agreement without exhaustive consultation and consideration for possible long-term consequences.
Representative Madaki called on the House Committees on National Planning and Economic Development, Justice as well as that on treaties, agreements and protocol to investigate the matter and report back to the House. Several contributions were made by lawmakers.
There is no portion of that agreement that talked about LGBTQ or 150 billion. Hold on, let me finish. If you have it, bring it out here. I'll show it. In fact, 3 ministers have come out, including information, budget and planning, in public to say there was nothing like that in the agreement. Go and Google your media. You will see the agreement, you will see it there. That it was never mentioned, it was never discussed. There is nothing like lesbian rights or gay rights. It is about human rights, environmental protection, and trade agreements.
We cannot continue to engage in contrived way of governance, cosmetic way of running government. Let us focus on the issues that matter. Our people are hungry. Yes. Our people are starving. Yes. People cannot buy food. Yes. There is insecurity. Yes. There is no light in the country. Yes. Industries are not growing. Yes. Let us tell ourselves the truth.
I will even caution that we should not be judgmental in our argument. But clearly, where the federal government is going into an agreement, by the provisions of Section 12 of the Constitution, the Parliament ought to be carried along. And if the Parliament had been carried along, these arguments, even from our people that we speak for, would not have been there, because Nigerians would have been better informed. The problem is that of lack of information. And as a Parliament, all we are saying is that we want to be satisfied that what the executive has told Nigerians is actually the true position of the facts. That's all we're asking for.
Mr. Speaker, agreement upon agreement has been signed by Nigeria in order to improve the Nigerian economy. But Mr. Speaker, everybody knows that instead for the economy to progress, is now retrogressing like a wildfire. Therefore, Mr. Speaker, we urge and we tell everybody, no matter how much money Nigeria is going to get from this thing, the handlers of the current economy could not fix the economy. Therefore, this should be rejected in totality.
Every right-thinking Nigerian should raise to vehemently resist, object, and reject anything that will bring about interfering and working against our religion and our moral values.
The motion was voted on, adopted as amended, and referred to the House Committee on National Planning and Development, as well as that on treaties, agreements, and protocol.
Motion say aye. Amendment. Those against say nay. The ayes have it.
Still on motions, the House considered the need to abrogate the federal government policy on compulsory retirement of public servants who have attained 8 years as directors in ministries, departments, and agencies. It was moved by the minority leader alongside 2 other lawmakers.
This motion is on the need to abrogate the federal government policy on compulsory retirement of public servants who have attained 80 years as directors in ministries, departments, and agencies of government. I pray that this motion, as contained herein, be supported and adopted. The crux of this motion is that the circular is against a law passed by this House. The circular covers teachers, and that is our quarrel, that since that circular affects teachers, and there is an act specially for teachers, so the circular should be withdrawn. The head of service still has the opportunity to regularize that circular, either by removing teachers from it.
The motion was considered and the following resolutions taken. To urge the head of civil service of the Federation to, with immediate effect, issue a new notice on rejoinder to her previous notice of July 2023 by withdrawing the circular on the compulsory retirement of directors upon serving for 8 years and to ensure compliance. And mandate the committees on public service matters and legislative compliance to ensure compliance. The motion was referred to the House Committee on Public Service Matters.
Motion should say aye. Those against should say nay. The ayes have it.
Away from motions and moving on to bills, the House considered a bill for an act to alter the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria and for related matters. It stood in the name of Deputy Speaker Benjamin Okezie-Kalu alongside 12 co-sponsors. The general principles of the debate were presented by Representative Joshua Audugana. In leading the debate, the lawmaker explained that the bill seeks to provide for the reservation of seats for women in National and State Assemblies.
At this point in our nation, the principles of fairness and inclusivity cannot be overemphasized. Globally, Nigeria lags behind in women representation in parliament, among the lowest countries who have implemented this affirmative action. Mr. Speaker, I remember that many of the political parties, both the majority and minority parties, promised their constituents and electorates that not less than 35% of women will be involved in government. And this bill seeks in fulfillment of that promise.
There was a robust debate.
We are just trying to see that we supplement your efforts. You are only giving us special seats. We are not taking your seats, the one that you are occupying. After all, that seat, you may not be there one day. It's somebody else that will be there. So please, give us the necessary attention and give us this support. I have said it earlier than this time that I don't know why you are too friendly in the afternoon. You are not too friendly in the afternoons to us women. Please, I'm appealing that this bill should see the light of the day.
We need to discuss this bill extensively. If we are giving opportunity to women, our wives, our mothers, our sisters, are we not going to now take the opportunity of the rights of men, or are we going to create extra seats adding to the 360 constituency in Nigeria or the 109 senatorial zones in Nigeria, as well as the state constituencies at the State House of Assembly? These are issues that we need to look at.
I think that there's a broad consensus, even outside of this chamber, that we need to do something about, gender equality and, diversity within, not only in the National Assembly, but in all political positions. But the issue of the how might be the question. And I want to appeal to this House that we allow for this bill to pass so that all those other issues, all those other concerns that you have can be addressed, within the public hearing and other avenues that we would have for other members of the public and stakeholders to be able to contribute.
Mr. Speaker, we came here based on democratics and based on popularity. And there is no human right or equality than democracy, than allowing every person, be it woman or man, to go and showcase his popularity in his own constituency. Therefore, Mr. Speaker, doing so, as accepting this bill, is against democratic principle and is undermining the fundamental human right of those ones that are popular in their own constituencies, Mr. Speaker. Therefore, Mr. Speaker, I am telling you this should be rejected, but I can support women if there is a political positions, appointed, non-elected positions. That's understandable. And if we continue doing so, we are also undermining the political parties.
Mr. Speaker, if you are saying we should create extra seats here, that is going against the Constitution of the Republic of Nigeria that fights for equality. I think we should argue this properly and know what we're talking about. Is it for electoral positions or is it for selective political positions?
If we make any attempt to make laws or any law that segregates in terms of gender, in terms of race, then we are in trouble. That law becomes inconsistent with the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
I think it would be nice for us as a House to look more into the details of this bill. Because if, for example, we want to talk about giving elective offices and you are not setting aside some of those seats for women, One, we are going against the Constitution, number one. Number two, I'm not sure there are too many men on the floor of this house today that will volunteer willingly for their seats to be given to women in the 11th Assembly.
I cannot stand here and tell you that we should not give women opportunity to participate in election. Let's give them a better opportunity. Right, Honorable Speaker, every one of us here who have beautiful wives and children at home, you want to see them here to speak and represent Nigeria. How will you feel today that you go back home and your son, your wife, your daughter don't have opportunity to speak in Nigeria and make laws?
After the debates, the bill was approved for second reading and referred to the Special Committee on the Review of the Constitution for further scrutiny. About 8 bills were read for the third time in the week under review. They include a bill for an act to establish Correctional Service Trust Fund and provide a legal framework for the management and control of the trust fund and for related matters. A bill for an act to establish North Central Development Commission charged with the responsibility, among other things, to receive and manage funds from allocation of the Federation account for the reconstruction and rehabilitation of roads, houses, and other infrastructural damages suffered by the region as a result of the effect of communal crisis, as well as tackle the ecological problems and any other related environmental or developmental challenges in the North Central states and for related matters. A bill for an act to establish the Southwest Development Commission, charged with the responsibility, among others, to receive and manage funds from allocation of the Federation account, including donations and gifts for the reconstruction and rehabilitation of infrastructural damages suffered by the region and to tackle ecological, environmental, and other developmental challenges in the region and for related matters. A bill for an act to establish Nigeria French Language Village as an inter-university center for French studies and for related matters. The bills were read for the third time and passed. Meanwhile, 34 bills were presented for first reading last week, amongst which are Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria 1999 Alteration Bill 2024, sponsored by Representative Jesse Okejo, Federal College of Nursing and Midwifery Mashi, Katsina State Establishment Bill 2024, sponsored by Representative Salisu Yusuf Majigiri, National Drug Law Enforcement Agency NDLA Act Amendment Bill 2024, sponsored by Representative Ibrahim Mohammed, Merchant Shipping Act Amendment Bill 2024, sponsored by Representative Francis Ejirogene Waive.
Many thanks for staying tuned to the program House Ticket as we bring you up to speed on the activities of our elected representatives in the Green Chamber of the National Assembly. We just reviewed some recent activities of the House in our first segment, where we saw the House deliberating on a bill to provide for the reservation of seats for women in National and State Assemblies, as well as various resolutions taking on motions. Moving on, the House Committee on Niger Delta Development Commission (NDDC) has commenced the consideration of the 1.911 trillion naira 2024 budget of the Commission. This was on Tuesday, 9th July 2024. In her presentation, Chairman of the committee, Representative Eriatake Ibori Swenu, stated that the budget was crucial to the success of the commission, stressing that the committee will carry out diligent consideration of the presentation, scrutinizing every detail.
We understand that budget is a complex process, therefore we appreciate the hard work and dedication of the budget team in putting together this proposal. It is, however, our responsibility as a committee to scrutinize every detail of the proposal to ensure that we are making the best decision for the organization and the people of the region and stakeholders.
She also added that the new partnership project between the federal and state government is a welcome development, as well as the intervention in the energy sector through the Operation Light Up the Niger Delta has benefited so many communities in the Niger Delta region. Appearing before the committee was the Managing Director of the NDDC, Samuel Ogboku. He gave a breakdown of the budget.
An aggregate expenditure of 1.911 trillion is
proposed for the Niger Delta Development Commission in 2024, themed the budget of renewed hope on assumption of revenues as follows. The revenues as follows are also in the table. You can see it if you have a copy of the speech. The proposed personnel cost estimated for 2024 personnel cost is 38.5 billion. We shall sustain our efforts in managing our overhead costs. Accordingly, overhead costs are projected at 29.2 billion. Capital expenditure. Investing in critical infrastructure is a key component of our fiscal strategy under the 2024 budget as proposed. The present management renavigating its process of intervention by adopting public-private partnership model as a vehicle to drive sustainable development in the Niger Delta region.
The managing director also said the commission plans to source money for the budget by borrowing 1 trillion naira from commercial and development banks in the country. Some members of the committee made their observations after going through the document presented by the managing director of the commission.
I want us to ask them to submit that budget performance for the previous year while we consider this budget. It's very important because that will give us a good measure in terms of comparison and analyzing what really took place. Yes, I've seen the procedure of what they have done here, and I am giving this because of my own observation too. Listening that, yes, the budget have just been presented to us.
Let me also commend your efforts in securing the approval to borrow about 1 trillion to inject into your commission. I believe that the essence of this is to increase the performance in that region, which is to benefit the people from that region.
I guess you are responding to the effects of climate change, which has occasioned a lot of flooding, especially in the Niger Delta and most parts of the country. Now, my worry is the Niger Delta, you cover the entire Niger Delta, including Abia State. And I am thinking of accommodation for 1,000 persons. I think it is grossly inadequate. That is not enough even for one village in any of the states in the Niger Delta. So I think your position here is important. You are being proactive to consequences of climate change. But if you are doing something, then that thing has to be done properly.
Hope you had an enlightening time on the program. Many thanks for being a part of the program. House Tickets will continue to bring you updates of activities of our lawmakers in the House of Representatives. Let's do this again. Bye-bye and do stay safe.